30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
'Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Oh, yeah. All right, my friends, it's time to get our talk on. It's been a while since we've done a morning talk. It's a morning talk special edition. I'm your host, J.C. McCauley. We got a special guest joining us this morning. The incomparable Jay Hogarth in the background. And it's been so long since I've done this, I've been lost my rhythm in terms of, I need to do this more often because I'm just trying to find which buttons to push and things like that. And so I might have to go back to doing more live programs from the studio. We do something every Tuesday. It's Tuesday here. Jonathan will be in a little bit later on, of course. It's Cleo. But this is a special edition. We have joining us a community legend. And we're going to bring him on now. We'll jump right into it. We're joined this morning by Cornell Lewis. Good morning, sir. How are you doing this morning?
I'm okay. Doing okay. It's a little foggy out there, and people are rushing in terms of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
I-91 is backed up. You can forget about it. Take the side streets.
You know, folk drive in the fog like, I don't know what's wrong with people. I was coming back from Pennsylvania, went to visit my dad over the weekend. I'm doing 85. People pushing me. They're pushing me. Out, I'm trying to, they're rolling up on me like I'm standing still. And folk drive like crazy out there. But in the fog, this is a great place to have backups, crashes, accidents. Folks just roll up on you and hit you from behind and slam.
Well, getting on 91 coming out of Bloomfield, it's clear. When you get up near 84 West, it looks like a forest fire when you look up in the sky because that fog is right there and you can't even see the blinkers.
Wow.
So, yeah, you're right. It's bad. People still rushing.
And then you got the sun making it worse.
Yeah, I had to get the Polaroid Ray Charles Cool Ray glasses out because of the sun.
Wow. This morning we're going to talk a little bit, bring that Jay Hogarth down a little bit. This morning we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on here in Connecticut. I would imagine Connecticut's going to be the tip of the iceberg, probably a good starting point. We know that the FBI's been here. There's an investigation going on. And a couple days ago, Brother Cornell called me and said, Stan, can we talk about this on the air? And I said, absolutely. So he's here this morning to talk a little bit about, what's going on here in the city with these investigations.
Okay. Well, the investigations have touched on something that a lot of people have speculated was happening for a long time. That millions of dollars coming into Hartford through the violence intervention program controlled by the Democrats and other funding was being given to people, and the money was being squandered, not being spent on the needy as it should have been, but being squandered. And so recently we've come to understand that the federal government is looking into politicians that have been giving money to possible love interest, to their friends, and doing something other than what the money was designed for. In other words, the Democrats have used federal dollars, violence intervention prevention dollars, as a slush fund to cement their political hegemony in Hartford and also enrich their friends.
Now, a friend of mine, Todd Feinberg, used to be on TIC. I think he's moved on from TIC, but one of his big things was always talking about how a lot of this money that goes to nonprofits is used as an effort to secure votes.
Yes.
As you mentioned with the political hegemony. And folks, a lot of this money seems to be coming through here unaccountable. I was talking to my wife about this yesterday. And there needs to be a better system. I was looking at an article that the CT Mirror had posted, and the Speaker of the House was talking about, with the FBI here, there clearly needs to be better accountability.
Yes, there needs to be accountability about the money, but it's an open secret in Hartford that money was being used for a long time to secure political favors and to keep the Democratic Party, certain members of the Democratic Party, in power. So now it's come out that money has actually been used by a certain politician, allegedly, to secure favor. And I, as an activist and other activists, we've been talking about this for a long time. Nobody would listen, so we had to take other measures to make sure that somebody heard us. And so I sent you a letter.
I have the letter here.
That was co-signed by several activists and a religious leader, sent to the White House. It was sent to Attorney General Pam Bondi, and it was sent to Donald J. Trump, saying that they needed to look into what was going on with federal dollars that was being given to certain groups. This was before the scandal broke in Hartford. The letter was sent 3 months before the scandal broke. And then after the letter was sent by lifelong Democrats asking the Republicans to look into possible misuse of monies, then we find out that the federal government started to look into this. Now, whether they were already doing this or not, we don't know. But it's kind of interesting that 3.5 months after we sent the letter and got a receipt back saying they received it, that the federal government came in and started looking at certain things. We sent them a specific letter about a specific group along with the group's tax returns, saying we don't understand why this particular group is getting 500,000 one year, 300,000 the next year, and they're not showing any kind of measurable results, empirically verified. It's just anecdotal. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're doing. Or you see them on Facebook or on TV.
I had a friend of mine call me. I know he didn't call me for himself. He called because I'm sure someone wanted to say something to me but didn't want to say it to me directly, so they used him to ask me, And so the question was put out, why are you putting, on your Facebook commentary that makes, a brother look bad? I said, I'm not making nobody look bad. I'm printing what's in the news. It's good for our community to know what's in the news. Putting your head in the sand about it doesn't make it go away. It just makes you unaware of what's actually going on. And they said, well, shouldn't this be something, shouldn't we air our own dirty laundry? Shouldn't we handle this as a community? I said, community? But come on. Community is self-sustaining, self-educating, and self-policing. None of those things are we really allowed to do in our community. And individuals such as yourself standing up wanting to do self-policing are pushed back and made a pride. But I said, it's interesting that there's this animus toward people who want to hold ourselves accountable.
Our people.
Who better to hold us accountable than us?
Well, that seems to be a problem because with other people, when there are people within our own community, black, brown, people of color, that are in positions of influence, and they misuse that influence for their own, what is my English teacher called it, self-aggrandizement. They should be called out and they should be held accountable. See, the problem, especially in Hartford, but in other places, is we don't want to point the finger at our own people. Everybody wants to point the finger at Whitey. Whitey did this, Whitey did that. Well, Whitey guilty, ain't no doubt about that. But why don't we give Whitey a break, send Whitey on vacation, and point to our own people that are doing the same identical thing? For a long time, people fought, some died, some advocated for a long time to get people of color in political positions and in positions of influence where they could benefit our people. However, the people that we help put in office that share a cultural and historical legacy with us, they turned out to be just as greedy and as treacherous as my granddaddy used to call Captain Boss or Mr. Charlie, which were names for white people in the South. So we should call out these people. We should point the finger, especially when they're taking hard-earned monies that should go to disadvantaged people, and they're living in homes costing over $500,000, and they're funneling money to their friends. So I do not personally buy into that that story that you just told me. That is why lifelong Democrats, along with myself, sent that letter to Donald J. Trump, the White House, Pam Bondi, and the Attorney General, and said, here's a group in Hartford, black run, claiming to be Democrats that are getting monies, $300,000 one year, $500,000 the next year, from the Violence Impact Program. And we don't understand why they're getting this money, what they're doing with it, and here are their tax returns to show that there might be some discrepancies in what they say in what they do. We should hold our own people accountable. We hold everybody else accountable. And all of this stuff about we should go in the back room, no. Put it in the light, let everybody see it, so we know that these people are doing this, and we are the ones that are the losers, because now you have people pointing at these black and brown politicians being investigated saying, we let them into the house, look what they're doing.
Well, one thing is for certain, and I think this is important, and I've had several people once again mention to me, which it takes me a lot of energy to stay calm when they do this. Elected officials, first and foremost, serve the constituency, not the other way around. And I have always looked at elected officials as employees. And I think, having run for public office, I can say this with a fair amount of certainty. And I've put my hands in the soil and allowed myself to be in that arena. So, it's the same thing I would have expected if I was victorious in any of my attempts to serve. But you work for the people, and to ask them questions and to hold them accountable is not some sort of crime.
No, it's not.
It's an expectation. I mean, if you're going to represent us, because as you mentioned, a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of energy has been put into making sure that people who look like us, aka black folk, ascend to positions where they can be politically useful to carve out funding for tax dollars that come back to the community. But during these kinds of times, they've been now neutered, if you will, because the investigation puts a cloud.
Yes. Oh,
now,
yeah.
Grand juries are not constituted and established to find guilt. That's not their job. They don't determine guilt. They look to see whether or not there's evidence to bring a charge. So, by definition, anyone who's going through a grand jury investigation is innocent. That's not the question. The question is, what was done that would trigger that? Because once you have an investigation like that, and unfortunately the amount of money going into North Hartford coming through a singular particular person, that means everybody's now jammed up. Everybody's jammed up. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a short break and a commercial, and we will be right back. Stick and stay, my friends. We're just getting started. There we go. Intro back music. Continuing with living legend music. Listen, the problem with using big words, you might be using the wrong ones. I want to say impresario. There's something sound like that. You know.
Yeah, you talking about musically?
Yeah.
Well, I do play about 6 different kinds of hand drums. I taught myself, and I'm learning to play the vibraphone now. But I play about 6 different types of instruments and the conch shells. And so I play jazz on trumpet conch shells, which I do every Saturday, you know, in the park with some brothers, you know, so, yeah.
So it's quite possible that the letter that you sent to the Trump administration, the Justice Department, because I have a copy of the letter, and I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna black out some addresses and phone numbers. But,
please. No hate calls.
Okay, so you know, to step up to the plate and to take a public stand is something that we need to see happening more often, because the idea and the notion that white folks do this all the time.
Yes.
White folks get away with it. So, and my pushback to that is, okay, so if you say a group of individuals is raping, robbing, and pillaging,
right,
and it's atrocious what they do and get away with, and to suggest that, well, why can't we rape, rob, and pillage our own? To me, that's treason of the highest order within the community. And
treason
people,
in the ranks.
Right. People guilty, not accused. People guilty of such should be taken out to the train tracks for the Midnight Express. I want to say that publicly. So
midnight train to Georgia.
For the midnight train, and you're not coming back.
Yeah.
Because you're guilty of treason. And in the old days, our community was like that. You know, you have a standard to maintain. You got to work twice as hard, twice as long to get half as much. And I think that, while maybe being unfair, puts us at a higher standard. And I think that we let our standards drop when we allow folks in the community that represent us to even have a hint of, you know, besmirchedness. You know, to whom much is given, much is required. You know, there's the calling of God, and then there's the calling of your community, where the community got together and put you in office. That says a lot about the office you hold. So when you're holding people of such accountable, I think that's to be commended. Now, aren't you concerned in terms of what people will say, and that you
No.
reached out to the Trump administration?
No, I'm a black man, and I know about our history firsthand, listening to my grandparents who were run out of Macon, Georgia. And I understand who I am living in America. I am not concerned whatsoever about what people might say. I'm only concerned about the fact that there are black and brown folks in positions of power that have taken advantage of their political position and have siphoned off monies and other things for their own benefit, and left the people that put them in office high and dry. So I agree with you. We need to call these people out. We need to hold them accountable, and we need to actually, in my estimation, purge the community of such people. And when I say purge, we need to stop hanging out, supping with people, inviting them to events when we know that they are going to betray us. Shakespeare wrote something about, I think it was Shakespeare, Caesar's wife needs to be above suspicion. But what Caesar actually said in Plutarch, the ancient historian, he wrote that Caesar said, I want my wife to be so much as even suspected. And so that is how we should look at our black and brown politicians. They should not even be suspected of anything nefarious or illegal. And that's why Archbishop Dexter Burke, myself, and politician and activist Eddie Garcia, we put the letter together. We sent it to the Trump administration, and people say, well, why would you send it to them? I'm pragmatic. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so the Trump administration, I don't agree with everything that they're doing, but we have long stood on the mountaintop and asked the Democrats, to look into this. And when we ask for help to advocate for crime and other things, we get feedback from the mayor of Hartford, like Arunin, who called me a George Zimmerman want-to-be and would not even talk to Dexter Burke about why we had a legally armed patrol on Garden Street when the people asked us for it. Now, some of that monies that is being siphoned off could have been given to us to help us to do certain things, maybe not the legal armed patrol, but why give it to groups that are just going out to pray or going out to hold another candlelight vigil? $300,000, $500,000. I am an ordained minister. I have a high master's degree in social work. I used to actually go into people's homes and deliver clinical services through multi-dimensional family therapy. I used to go out at night in the parks and get people and provide services. If you wanted somebody to actually help, you could have gotten somebody like myself. I'm not advocating for myself, but somebody who is clinically trained, who studied Greek and Hebrew in a theological school and could parse the scriptures, and who's musically inclined, who could provide music at events and other things. But instead, you give the money to some inarticulate, antediluvian, old as Mississippi mud black folks in a particular group that all they do is run around from event to event holding a vigil, talking into a megaphone, and leaning on each other because they're so old they're about to fall over. Now you tell me, where is the efficacy in giving $500,000 or $300,000 one year and $500,000 the next year to a group like that? I don't understand it. With no verbal skills, intellectually, they're like gone to bed, and they're like what we call in the musical world Johnny One Note. They just know how to play one tune, I don't have anything about people going to events and giving people spiritual solace, but at least know what you're talking about. They don't even know what they're talking about in terms of the scriptures. That stuff they're talking about is something I've never heard of in theological school. And when you read the New Testament in Greek, what they're saying on the street is not what's written in the Bible. Okay, everybody don't study Greek. They go to the Old Testament. What they're saying on the street at these vigils don't match up with the Hebrew. So what are they doing? And why are they getting that money? It can only be for one reason: to help keep the anger of the people on a low burner and to do the bidding of their master. And who is their master? Well, what's his name? Mark Twain said it best. Show me where a man gets his corn pone at, and I'll show you where his head is. His head is up the butt of the, excuse the expression, of the Democratic Party. So the people getting this money serve a purpose. They run out and squelch any semblance of anger the people might have for the benefit of the Democrats, who continue to get all of this money into the city. And when people actually do something like Archbishop Dexter Burke in his Walk in the Light church, bring 200-300 people to his church to learn about how to legally carry a gun and how to patrol their community on Garden Street, then when people do that, and people like myself help Bishop Burke and other people, then the Democrats come out and call us George Zimmerman wannabes, not because we've said anything about the politicians, but because we are threatening the very power base that they have set in motion. And see, here's the key. The people in Washington and in Hartford who send that money down to these politicians, if the politicians are not showing results, or these activist groups are not showing results, then the people with the money are saying, well, why do we need to give the money to you? You're not showing any results. Why are the people going to Dexter Burke? Why are the people going to Cornell Lewis? Why are the people going to Eddie Garcia asking for help? And then when we provide the help and crime actually drops in the Garden Street area, then they get angry. But they get angry because they know that that money can get cut off because other people have stepped into the breach at the request of the community and have results. It is not lost on me that after the people stopped patrolling on Garden Street as a result of the attacks by Mayor Arunin on Dexter Burke and myself, it is not lost on me that as soon as we stop showing the people how to fly drones and to use flat screen TVs and things to monitor what is going on, it is not lost on me that crime actually went up in the Garden Street area, and the brothers ran into the dollar store and acted a plum fool, as my granddaddy would say, and shooting erupted in Unity Plaza. But while they were patrolling, that didn't happen.
Right.
And all the mayor had to do was say, why are you guys patrolling? What's going on? We would have said, oh, we've come here at the request of the people. But the Democrats didn't do that because they didn't have their eyes on helping the people, the downtrodden. As Jesus would say, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. No, they had their eyes fixed on that money. That money that comes into Hartford that is supposedly used to help reduce crime and help the people, they were using that for their own selfish reasons, giving it to groups, that were not really producing any results.
It's been long thought by many that the situation of crime in inner cities is a revenue stream from municipalities, as opposed to a real means to eliminate and mitigate crime. It's more of a way to contain crime, and thus you can profit off
the misery of the people, and then you tear off some of that money and you give to these inarticulate groups running around like cockroaches, feeding on the crumbs, and they in turn become the surrogates of the power structure. So you're right, Stan. Crime, violence becomes a revenue stream, and millions of dollars come into Hartford, and the people at the top want to keep that money to themselves. But what really makes me mad and people like myself angry is this. The people that sell out these activist groups in the North End, and even groups, I call them, I would like the NAACP, they sell out for crumbs. They get crumbs from the Democratic Party, to do their bidding and to tap dance like Bojangles Robinson, and they sell out for pennies. They get millions of dollars for this stuff in Hartford, and you sell out for literally nothing. Now, my belief is this. If you're going to be a turncoat and sell out good. Get paid for it. But these people I'm talking about, these activist groups and other people, they are political prostitutes. And the question is not if they're going to lift their political skirts, but the question is how high are they going to lift them? You're going to lift your skirts up for the Democratic Party, but you're only getting a fraction of the money that they get into the city, and you sell out for that. You sell out your people for a pittance, and it benefits nobody but yourself. And anybody else like myself, Dexter Burke, or Eddie Garcia, or anybody else that rises up and the people gravitate to is a threat.
During the political campaign for mayor the last one, one of the candidates was John Fonfara, Senator Fonfara. He was very, very public in his statement that, the key reason he was running was because the millions and millions of dollars that he has directed to the city never seem to impact the city. It's like,
no,
are the poor and the impoverished used as a mechanism to justify the expenditure, but then when it gets here, it's all redirected elsewhere.
They're used as what they call ciphers. And when I worked as a mental health worker, each individual was a commodity. You could take their insurance, and you would get 35 to 40 insurance bites. And you would make so many house visits, you would do so many things, and then you would watch the digits run out, and when the digits got low, you would apply for some more, having to prove through the DSM 2, 3, 4, and 5 the validity of why you needed this. And so there are people in Hartford who are actually commodities, and they are the reasons all of this money is coming in. And you're right, it's being diverted to other places. And these activist groups, are part of that conspiracy. In Latin, conspiracy means to breathe against for evil purposes. I think it's conspirito. Sister Teresa, forgive me if I butchered that Latin again. I don't have to write on the blackboard 500 times, but that's what a conspiracy is, breathe against for evil purposes. And there's a conspiracy in Hartford. There are people gathering in high places, taking that money, saying they're helping the poor, and they're not. And if the Bible is true in any sense, one day, I think it's in the book of Proverbs, it reads, one day, those of you in high places, one day you shall cry out to the poor, and your voice will not be heard. You see, because you're not listening to the voices of those who are the last, the lost, and the least.
All right. Well, that's a great place for us to stop. I'm gonna have you come back.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll come back. We'll pick this up. Maybe we'll bring Dexter in, and we'll continue.
Thank you.
This discussion.
And if you want to post that letter that we sent to the Justice Department, to Donald Trump, and to Pam Bondi, please be my guest. I'm not ducking. I'm not hiding. If people want to know the actual name of the group, put it out there for people to see, and I will respond, to all, as Kingfish said in the Amos and Andy series, I will respond to all allegations and the alligator.
All right. Cornell Lewis, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will talk again very soon. You out there, remember, elected officials work for you. You're not their servants. You're not their subjects. And you are the only one that can hold people accountable. And my friends, if they believe that you're not going to say anything, you'd be surprised what they'll do. You'd be surprised, right? You are the check because you are the government, all right? There's an old saying that I use. We don't have to pick cotton because we are the cotton. Don't be the cotton, all right? Don't be the profit center. Okay. All right. More to come in future programs. God bless you. Stay aware and wake up.